Good evening. I'm Chanel, Vehicle Title Expert. Thank y'all so much for tuning in, and I thank you in advance for subscribing. So, on tonight, I will be continuing with the series entitled Title and Registration for Truckers. Tonight's segment, I will talk about IRP and IFTA. If you are an owner operator trucker, you will want to stay tuned during this entire series so that you can get valuable information as it pertains to your registration matters so that you can stay in compliance with DOT and DMV. With that being said, I will cover 4 key points on tonight. I will talk about what IRP is, what IFTA is, getting your IRP and IFTA, and the requirements or maintaining your IRP and IFTA. So, number one, what is IRP? IRP is the Interstate Registration Plan that is in place amongst the 48 states and Canadian provinces. Okay, so when you're going through these jurisdictions, they focus on miles. Okay, so every state or jurisdiction you're going through receive an allocated amount of funds as it pertains to the miles that you are traveling in those states or jurisdictions. And the word apportion is a key factor. Okay, so every state basically is receiving their fair share or allocated share. And I know many of you truckers out there, you're probably familiar with the term apportion rather than IRP or Interstate Registration Plan. And if so, that's fine. They are the same. Okay, so the states or jurisdictions, they focus more on miles, and every state, get their share, from your base state when it comes to setting up your IRP. Okay, number two, EFTA. So EFTA is the International Fuel Tax Agreement amongst the states and Canadian provinces. All right, so when you are traveling through these states and Canadian provinces, basically, instead of them focusing on the miles per se, they are focusing on the fuel that you are purchasing in these states or jurisdictions. So IRP is focused mainly on the miles, whereas EFTA is focused on the fuel that you purchase. So with the fuel that is being purchased, every state or jurisdiction also receives their fair share of that tax as it pertains to you purchasing that fuel. Okay. Number three, getting your IRP and EFTA. So the first thing that happens when you're trying to get your IRP and EFTA is that vehicle or vehicles in question must first be titled in your base state. And your base state is the state in which you will primarily have your operation base according to DOT. Okay. And from there, your base state will give you your credentials. Of course, you gotta, comply with the necessary paperwork, which would be, your name as such, your tax ID number or your social, depending on whether you're being set up as an individual, sole proprietor, or the name of a company. Also, proof of address is going to be required as well. The vehicle information, the gross weight, those are the core basic requirements regarding setting up your IRP and EFTA. Okay, very important. Once you comply with your IRP and EFTA requirements, then the DMV will give you the credentials such as your cab card, your apportion plate, your IFTA license, and your set of IFTA decals. Okay. And lastly, the requirements or maintaining your IFTA and IRP comes with credentials that are, only valid as long as you stay in compliance. Okay, so this is not a, once for all type of thing. Okay, even though you're getting your credentials, you still got to maintain and meet the necessary requirements that are set forth by DOT and DMV. Some examples of things that you will have to comply with is going to be your UCR, which is filed every year around November, or sometimes on December, or you know, you can take it to, January, but that's kind of pushing it. But your UCR has to be filed every year. Your 2290 or highway use tax has to be filed every year. Also, your IFTA tax has to be filed every quarter. Whether you have operations or not, the if the tax has to be filed, okay? And then also, you will be expected to renew your IRP registration every year, all right? So those examples that I just shared are things that you will have to comply with in order to keep your credentials active, okay, and current, and to receive a new CAB card or updated CAB card and a new set of the license and decals as such. So if you don't comply, then of course you will not get the updated credentials as you should, and you will be, under suspension. And of course, DOT will be mindful of that, and that will affect your operations with them. All right, so you want to stay in compliance. Keep these 4 points in mind as it pertains to your IRP and IFTA needs. If you have any questions pertaining to IRP and IFTA, feel free to drop me a line below or visit me at wisdomandauthority.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please click, share, and subscribe. I hope to hear from you soon.